Fairview Gardens is a small organic farm, and the most important element of Fairview Gardens is that it is an urban farm. We're surrounded by houses on every side, including the public library on one side. The Center for Urban Agriculture was formed in 1997, and that's when the previous owners felt development pressure and the land was slated for development. The community formed a nonprofit organization, and the Land Trust for Santa Barbara County put the land in a conservation easement. So another very important quality of this land is that it's protected forever. It's also a very unusual conservation easement because it's considered a working easement, which means the land has to be farmed, and it has to be farmed organically. This is a very unusual situation, and it's a very important way to save farmland throughout America. One of the reasons Fairview Gardens is known is because it's in an urban context. And when it first started approximately 10 years ago, it was sort of a novelty, and that's why it got a lot of attention. But that novelty to me is becoming more mandatory. Our reliance on fossil fuels really makes it to the point that farms are going to have to be more in the urban context. Traditionally, they've been separated from cities, and people in the country grow the food and they deliver it into the city. As oil becomes more scarce, it's going to be more and more difficult to transport food from point A to point B, and if you can't do that, you have to produce food in point A and point B. So this is the front field at Fairview Gardens. This is probably, I guess about 3 acres, and as you can see, we're bordered by a fairly busy street. And we're probably 2 blocks away from a very substantial commercial hub. And as you can see over here on the east side of our property is the local Goleta Library. We're in the greenhouse. This is where it all begins. The greenhouse is very important for all farming endeavors because it's a very controlled environment. We essentially start every crop in the greenhouse except for root crops, and those are crops that grow into the ground as roots. So all your chards, kales, lettuces, broccolis, all those start here. And they're generally in here for maybe 3 or 4 weeks before they go into the fields. The most exciting element of Fairview Gardens to me is that we really focus on local food production. Organic agriculture has existed for a while, but it's not exactly tantamount to sustainability. We have to take it a step further, and that step further to me is providing local produce to families in your immediate area. Fairview Gardens is a working farm. We grow over 100 varieties of fruits and vegetables on these 12.5 acres of land. And through that and through our various marketing venues, we service approximately 5,000 families in the Santa Barbara area.
My name's Jen, and I'm the produce stand manager here at the Fairview Garden produce stand. We have fruits and vegetables from local farmers, from our own farm, and a couple other California growers. These are Easter egg radishes, which are just gorgeous, and they have great flavor. They're a little bit spicy, but they're good in salads and things like that. And of course, carrots are very popular. We produce them all year round here at Fairview, so they're delicious. And then another wintertime squash is very popular. So we have the sugar pie pumpkins, which are great for pumpkin pies. We have butternut squash. We have kombucha. So it's the great thing about this stand is that it's not just fruits and vegetables, but we also stock groceries so that people can come here on their way home from work and stop and get pasta and salad, juices, things like that. I think one thing I've really enjoyed about working here at the stand is that we have some schools just right across the street, and a lot of kids come over after school and they grab a couple apples or a bunch of carrots and sit on our picnic tables over here or wander the farm. And I think that we're bringing the farm here into Santa Barbara's community, and that's been really important.
One of the components of being an urban farm is that we're open to the public, so the public is free to come here and experience a little bit of farm life within the urban context. This is just a fairly standard example of one of our vegetable rows. As you can see, there's a lot of diversity, and really the main tenet of organic farming is diversity, diversity, diversity. Because by doing that, you're creating habitat in which pests cannot thrive. You're essentially throwing off their life cycles a little bit. And in any ecosystem, the more stability is gained through diversity. Diversity is also very important for soil quality because certain plants use certain nutrients from the soil, so you never want to plant the same plant in the same place because the minerals in which they thrive on have been depleted. Part of our public farm tours, we have farm signs that people can come and read information about the farm. This one's about seed and diversity. As I stated earlier, diversity is really a key component to organic farming. And the seeds, as we talked about in the greenhouse, are obviously the start of everything. Fairview really tries to pay a lot of attention to using organic seeds, and we try to grow a lot of heirloom crops. Organic farming is really also about observation. It's the most important trait a farmer can have. And it's really the difference between conventional farming and organic farming is the time involved to really observe and see what's going on and try to balance out the different components of nature. And rather than working against nature, you're working with nature. This is an example. We have some bat boxes. We try to attract as much wildlife here as possible, and one of the key components of organic farming is predator control, using predators to control things like gophers, which are a very big issue in this part of the world. So we try to attract as many raptors as we can, for example, to use natural predation. So a very important part of organic farming is using compost to nourish your soil. We've taken that a step further, and we're making compost tea. This is our compost tea maker. We take worm castings from our worm bin over this way. We put them in this machine. It's essentially just like tea, and we actually steep it overnight in very hot water, and it produces a very rich watery solution that we use with the plants. We either put it in the irrigation hose or we spray it aerially so we get it on the leaves as well. Here I'm in our worm bin. Underneath the soil here, there's probably hundreds of thousands of worms. We add in plant debris and food scraps, and the worms eat that food scraps, and they produce a very nutritious byproduct, and that's what we take and put in the compost tea maker. So in addition to growing food at Fairview Gardens, we also have animals. We have goats, chickens, and bees. These are our goats. They're all Nubian goats, and they serve multiple purposes on the farm. First of all, they provide milk for us, and they also are a great weeding tool out in the fields. We also use them with cover crops in the winter when we plant cover crops to give the land a rest and provide nutrients for the land. Then we bring the goats in and they mow them down for us. And probably most importantly, they're great entertainment for the children that come out here. Chickens have a lot of different functions on a farm. Everyone knows they produce eggs, but they're also very integral into organic farming. They till the soil just by walking around. It's sort of a micro-till mechanism. They also eat lots of different pests, and they also weed for us. And mainly because of the latter reason, we move their coop about once a week to different areas of the farm, so they'll weed different areas. And these chickens lead a pretty good life. They're free to roam. They get fed a lot of organic compost. We only have to supplement their food a little bit with chicken food. These chickens are very healthy, so their eggs are very healthy, and therefore that gets transcribed into the human as well. In the last few years, Fairview Gardens was given a grant to set up a separate children's garden, so they have their own place in which to play. And they come and plant their own plots of land. Each children has their own little section, so it's really their own little world. And they get to see it throughout the season from seed to harvest, and it's really amazing for them to see that full cycle. This is a mulberry tree. It's a very unusually large mulberry tree. It serves dual purposes on the farm. We get fruit from it, obviously. It also is a great shade tree, and probably most importantly, this is where we have our children's camp meet every day. The children actually climb in the branches, we read them stories, and this is their favorite place to be on the farm. I guess my vision for Fairview is that Fairview just becomes one of many urban farms across the country, and that we set a really good example for other people in different places. And not only that, that farming should be hand in hand with education, because as less and less people know how to grow food, we're going to have a real issue with food security. If people would like to know more about urban farming or organic farming, in particular Fairview Gardens, please visit our website, which is www.fairviewgardens.org.